Hey friends, it's Andrea. Hope that you're doing really well today. Hope that you're enjoying your week. We are in week 8 of our summer book club, On the Road with Abraham. I trust that God is speaking to you. I am praying for you. I'm excited for you as you're on your own faith journey. We are coming to chapter 8, which is titled Little by Little. And this chapter, it's kind of complex. It looks at 3 different events in Abraham's life. One that's covered in Genesis 18, one that's covered in Genesis 20, and then one that is covered in Genesis 21. And so you see these snapshots of God's work in Abraham's life, and they're big time things that God is doing as just the plan of God is about to come to fruition in Abraham's life. Isaac is on the way. The promised child is so close. And so God is going to do some deep work in Abraham's life. He's going to actually have Abraham face the fear within him that continually surfaced throughout his journey as God was just taking Abraham and Sarah to this place where a promised child was going to come through Sarah's barren body. And so Abraham's going to have to look at this fear of getting killed because of his relationship with Sarah. And it's just going to be so powerful to see how God brings that to the surface. I'm not going to spoil that. And how Abraham has to face it. And then how God moves him forward as a result of just that intentional work in Abraham's life. In this chapter, we kind of look at the concept of little by little, how God works little by little, how God moves little by little, how he is working according to a greater plan and purpose. And really this speaks to the timing of God, how God's working in your life, how God's working in my life, how he's always doing more than what we can see, what we can ask, what we can imagine, what we can comprehend, what we can understand, and how all of it is coming together according to God's sovereign, providential, purposeful plan. And because of that, we can trust him. And along the way, God's offering relationship. And that was something that I really took away from this chapter, is that God was building truth into Abraham. God was building relationship into Abraham, and how every single stop of the way, every single moment, every single obstacle, every single aspect of the journey was working according to God's bigger plan, but it was happening in the context of little moments that created big trust and big resolve. And we're going to see that in next week's chapter. So this week, I want to encourage you to soak up these 3 snapshots of Abraham and God. See how God was working in Abraham's life, both to reaffirm the promise and then actually to bring the promise of Isaac to fruition. We're going to see that. We're going to see Sarah's response to it. We're going to see Abraham's response to it. We're going to see God's individual sanctifying work in their lives, and how all of this was going to lead Abraham to trust in the timing of God. Waiting can be so hard for all of us. You know, we have our plans, we have our desires, we have our wishes, hopes, and dreams. And oftentimes, if I'm being so honest, I just want God to bless those. I just want God to hurry up and to get me to the next step, or get me to the next phase, or get me to the next moment. But oftentimes, whenever I'm so focused on the next thing, I miss the here and now. I miss the opportunity to commune with God, to pray, to be in relationship, to have that sanctifying work played out in my life, so that, you know, the lies of the enemy and the lies of the flesh are coming to the surface, so that true sanctification and renewing of the mind can take place. And then what are we going to see at the end of this chapter? We're going to see a miracle move of God, and all of it according to God's plans and his purposes. So here's my question for you. In the midst of your faith journey, in the midst of this moment, how is God working little by little? How can you see, maybe if you step back, the bigger picture, the grander plan that God is maybe working in you or through you or around you? Sometimes we need to step back and just ask God to show us the bigger picture. And when we can't see the bigger picture, we need to trust that God sees it, that he knows the plan, and that even in the little small snapshots, he's building in us faith and trust for the journey. So as you journey through chapter 8, and we talk about the little by little work of God, the little by little sanctifying work of God, Ask God to show you the next step of faith and the next step of obedience that you can take, and celebrate his presence, his provision, his miracles along the way. I can't wait for you to read this chapter and to see how God is. We are so close to seeing the promise of Isaac fulfilled. We're going to see that happen in this chapter, and that is going to position us for next week's video and next week's chapter, where we're going to see this incredible test that's coming. And I just want to do a little bit of a teaser, a little bit of a spoiler. Everything that God had been building into Abraham's life, every truth, every moment, every test, every act that had happened little by little was preparing him to walk up that mountain and to know who God is and how he faithfully works. And the same is true in our little by little journey. God is changing us. He is shaping us. He is teaching us, and he's inviting us to trust him more and more. So dig into chapter 8 of On the Road with Ruth and ask God to show you how he's at work in your life little by little. I'll see you soon.